In today's segment, I want to talk about what we should expect from Reggie Jackson. Now, going into this season, Reggie Jackson is going to be a bigger product for the Clippers. He's going to be a product that the Clippers need to lean on a lot more, need to lean on in regards to being one of the main scorers. I feel like, since last year in the playoff, what we saw Reggie and how good he can be and how he plays and how well he played under pressure in the playoffs when they needed him in big moments. They're going to need a lot more of that this season, and they're going to need it going forward from the starting of the season, going into the playoffs, pending that they make it that far. And they definitely should, in my opinion. So my thing is this: when I look at Reggie Jackson, last year he was averaging 10.7 points a game with like 2.89 rebounds. He's going to have to up that and damn near double it, because what's going to have to happen now, the Clippers are going to be looking at him to be one of the main scores, and they're going to look for him to continue what he did last year in the playoffs by playing at the high level that he did. And they want him to mimic that going into the season so they can at least be a formidable team to get to the playoffs. Because the goal for the Clippers this year really is to get to the playoffs, hope Kawhi Leonard can get as healthy as he can to help them get to the promised land, which is the NBA Finals, and possibly win it. That's the goal. So in order for that goal to happen, step one has to come before step two. Step one, you have to have everybody on the floor understand that Kawhi is not there. He will be coming back, but we don't know when. So we have to play to a high level every night to put ourselves in position to be in the best seed that we can be. And that's the mentality the Clippers have to have. So what they're going to need from Reggie Jackson, it is definitely clear. They're going to need playoff Reggie Jackson of what they had in the playoffs, but they're going to need it for 82 games. Now, I'm not sure if Reggie Jackson can mimic that for 82 games. I believe that he can, but of course we have to see him do it. We have to see him do it at a high level, and it has to be the team winning while he's playing at a high level, along with Paul George, Marcus Morris, Batum and the rest of the crew. They're going to have to all pitch in. And hopefully, if you look at somebody like Serge Ibaka, hopefully with his expertise, being able to space the floor, being a big man that can allow them to be more versatile on the offensive end and defensive end, is really going to play a big factor with Serge Ibaka as well. So everybody needs to not only chip in, but everybody needs to understand this is the moment that they're built for. They don't have Kawhi. They don't have their best player, but they have a lot of great pieces, which is the reason why, or should I say a lot of really, really good pieces, which is the reason why they were looked at as the deepest team in the NBA last year. And they still really are, even though they're missing Patrick Beverley, even though they're missing Rondo. It doesn't matter. They were a deep team before they had Rondo. Rondo made them deeper before they traded for him mid-season from the Atlanta Hawks last year. And with Patrick Beverley, they never really looked at him as a scorer anyway. So when you say they were a deep team, they were deep based amongst the offensive firepower they have. Now, Patrick Beverley did help because additionally, he started knocking down his three-point shot a little bit more effectively and a little bit more better than what he did, years prior. So you have to give Patrick Beverley credit in that sense. But they were a deep team anyway. So now they have to sit there and regroup defensively because they don't have a Patrick Beverley as they did, to throw in there and sick on a guy if you need somebody to shut somebody down or play hard defense or get in their head. They don't have that type player, but they do still have some really good defenders, and they're going to have to, rally together in a lot of games. A lot of games is not going to be easy. They're going to go through stretches where they might go through a 4 or 5 game losing streak, but they can't lose their confidence. So what they need out of Reggie Jackson, not to get off the topic, they're going to need him to be a leader type, something that I think Reggie Jackson's never been in his other roles, being on other teams, whether OKC or the Pistons, wherever he's played. He's never really had to step into a leader type role, but they're going to need that out of Reggie Jackson this time or from this team, because he's definitely somebody that they look at like, man, you really stepped up in the playoffs. You really played to that level with Kawhi and PG. We expect you to be the third best player. And that's exactly what it comes down to, mainly, mostly, and foremost. Reggie Jackson needs to be the second best player right now until Kawhi comes back and become the third best player and be the third best player on the team, as he showed in the playoffs last season. That's what they're going to need him to be. They need him to be one of the best players on the team offensively to put them in position to be as great as they can be. Because I'm telling you, if Reggie Jackson can mimic what he did last year in the playoffs for a whole season and then take it into the playoffs, hoping that Kawhi comes back and play to the level that he did with Paul George playing at the level that he can, this team can be unbeatable almost. Because they will have a three-headed monster that most teams can't deal with. Two wing players who are really good defensively in Kawhi and PG. And their silent killer would be Reggie Jackson. And that's exactly what they need Reggie Jackson to be. They need him to go in there and play more of a leader role this year during the season, step up his scoring, and play from a standpoint of with a winning mindset along with being the offensive threat that he was in the playoffs. And I believe Reggie Jackson can do it. I believe Reggie Jackson I think his percentages will go up, shooting wise this year. I believe he will play to the level that I think that a lot of people believe that he can. And I definitely am a believer in Reggie Jackson, even though I wasn't a couple years ago. I didn't know what he really could bring to a team. I didn't think he could bring that championship type level play into a team, into an organization, but he showed it. He did it. And now the biggest part of that situation is he has to mimic it. He has to do it again. And a lot of times that's what scares you about some players. Sometimes they can do something for one season or one playoff, and then you expect them to be that way going forward, and they don't show up and never be that way ever again. I don't think that's what's going to happen to Reggie Jackson, but we'll just have to see how the season goes, and we'll have to see from there. As far as his letter grade of what I saw of him last year in the playoffs, last season he averaged 10 points a game, basically. And looking at him this past season, I'm going to give a grade on every player, like I said, of their analysis of the past season. And my grade for Reggie Jackson, I'm going to give him a C+, because what I saw in the playoffs, he picked it up a lot. He was a C. He was average in the regular season, but he definitely got that plus, very close to a B- in regards to his play in the playoffs. Maybe even a B, but I'm giving Reggie Jackson a C+ from what I saw last year, because this year I expect him to be a B- bare minimum, grade-wise. But that's my take on the situation. Let me know what you think in the comment section. As always, we'll talk about it. We're always engaged. And I appreciate your comments always. And hey, Khaliis out.